Yummy, gluten-free pancakes that are low-carb, keto, paleo, and vegetarian friendly, and only about 100 calories per pancake. Let's start with grapeseed oil in the bottom of your favorite pan. We're going to use blanched almond flour, and we're going to use some baking powder, and we're going to use a little bit of sea salt. And let's go ahead and mix up the dry ingredients. I have them measured out. So this is 1 1/3 cup of almond flour. And then we have 1/4 teaspoon sea salt. We're going to add the baking powder now, and that is going to be 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Mix all of those up, and then we're going to mix up our wet ingredients. So just make sure those are mixed pretty well. And I use a separate measuring cup or container to measure and mix my liquid. But we're going to start with the almond flour. This is 1/4 cup almond flour. I use the unsweetened for sure. We're going to add a couple of eggs. Mine are free-range organic eggs. And a little bit of vanilla, so 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I use the pure vanilla extract. And then we're going to add in some pure maple syrup. And this is 1 tablespoon pure maple syrup. We're going to have some extra to pour on top as well. Yum. All right, so just whisk that all up. And then we're going to add the wet ingredients to the dry. And just mix those up very well. And you're going to see it's going to have a pancake batter consistency. A little bit thick. You don't want it to be runny. And while this is being mixed up, I have the pan over on the stovetop, and the oil is getting nice and hot. So I have it turned on high. And I'm just going to scoop these into the pan, just a little tiny pancakes. I would say about the size of the palm of your hand. They're not going to spread out very much. It's going to be sort of like the consistency of making potato pancakes, if you've ever done that. And you want them to sizzle really well. If you put them in there and that oil isn't hot, that is not good. All right, so just scoop all of those in there. And then we're going to flip those over in just a second. I'm going to turn the stove down, the stovetop down just a tad, but I'm going to keep that oil pretty hot. And this batter is going to make about 10 pancakes that size. So we're just going to let those sizzle just a bit, and then we're going to flip those little babies over. Nice and brown on one side. Now these are not going to cook at the same speed as a boxed pancake batter. So they're going to cook a little bit slower. You're going to have to flip them because they're going to cook quicker on the outside than they do on the inside. So what I do with mine is I usually flip them a couple of times. I just want to make sure you're not going to bite into that pancake and get wet batter. That's not fun. Those are looking good. All right, and then I think I'm just going to put the lid on for just a minute because that's just going to contain the heat in there and just cook the inside a little bit quicker. You don't have to do that, but just a minute because it'll make them soggy if you wait too long. All right, there we go. So these are ready to come off and put on the plate, and then I have 5 more to go in. They look so good and they smell so good. And I'm going to add just a little bit more oil before I do the other 5. Just a tad. It won't take just a second for that to heat up. And I'm using the grapeseed oil because you can really bring that to a higher temperature. And that's the oil that I generally use for cooking on the stovetop whenever I'm doing anything, any frying or anything that I'm having to bring to a really high temperature. All right, so you see they're looking a little bit golden brown. They're just fabulous. I think they're going to be perfect. Yummy. Add a little syrup and they're ready to serve. Oh my goodness. Let's give these a taste. Delish. Thanks so much for watching. Check out my next video. You might just learn something. Let's eat clean and keep it simple.